Okay, I'm going to start a little light-hearted, but I'm ending on a serious point, so stick with me. There's a lot of talk at the moment about AVs, autonomous vehicles, and if you're a London cab driver, you've already seen one or two of these drifting around London streets. As of early 2026, there are about 24 of these active autonomous prototypes operating in London, mainly from Waymo, but with others from Wave working alongside Uber, and every single one of these vehicles at the moment have a human safety driver inside, and their job is to monitor the AI, what Wave calls embodied AI, and step in if the system gets confused whilst it learns the chaotic layout of London's roads. All of that is about to change. The government is fast-tracking regulation, so driverless schemes, that's level 4 automation, no human behind the wheel, could start as soon as the spring or summer. That is the direction of travel. Now, Wave recently brought itself to everybody's attention on social media. Their CEO, Alex Kendall, posted a time-lapse dashcam video showing the car en route to what he called an impressive drive without intervention on the way to Buckingham Palace. And as night follows day, his comment about how the system took him through the lanes of Soho left him wide open to ridicule from cabbies for the absolute ludicrous route that the vehicle took. The vehicle started in Oxford Street by Tottenham Court Road, a street that it shouldn't even be on. And I think the only intuitive turn it did was the right turn into Bloomsbury Street. It then proceeded to Shaftesbury Avenue. Now, this is a very basic route, isn't it? Cabbies would do it with their eyes closed, but not an AV, because when it got to Shaftesbury Avenue, it decided to do a right turn into Wardour Street, left into Broadwick Street, left into Lexington Street, right into Beak Street, which I assume he considers to be the lanes of Soho. I guess it then got back on track by doing a left into Regent Street to Piccadilly Circus, Haymarket, Pall Mall East and Trafalgar Square, and then it went absolutely crackers because it did a left into Northumberland Avenue, right into Great Scotland Yard, left into Whitehall, and then crazily, it did a left into Horse Guards Avenue, right around the embankment to Bridge Street. It went around Parliament Square and then straight back up Whitehall, at which point it cut out. So they must have teleported from Whitehall to Buckingham Palace. I don't know what happened in between. But it goes to show, doesn't it, that with SatNav, everybody loses common sense. Absolute loses common sense, because I guarantee that he would never have posted that video out if he had reflected on the route and saw how ridiculous it was. Absolutely guarantee. Unsurprisingly, the post disappeared very quickly, but I don't think it was deleted because of the absurd route. I think it was deleted because the car actually ran a red light, and Wave's official statement admitted this. They also went on to offer an explanation, and I'll just read this to you. The vehicles are still prototypes. Well, that's besides the point. A trained safety operator, in this case Kendall himself, was in the driver's seat for monitoring and potential intervention. The car initially crossed the stop line on green, but continued as the light turned red and became obscured. Well, that's besides the point also. They acknowledged that the correct action would have been for the operator to manually take over and hold the vehicle stationary until the light was clearly green again. So effectively, Wave have thrown their CEO under a bus. They also went on to say that they were reviewing systems for compliance and safety. Yeah, right. So effectively, the AI failed and the human saved it. You really couldn't make it up. To be honest, I find that explanation just as absurd as the route the car took. You don't respond to red lights retrospectively, you have to anticipate them. If the system fails to recognise something as basic as a red light, by the time the human responds, surely the violation would have already happened. Rule number 1 of driving is simple. Stop at red lights. If a supposedly advanced autonomous system struggles with something as simple as that, how is it going to cope with the endless, unpredictable variables in a dense urban environment?
No.
It's going to try to go in the other lane.
Okay, wait, now it's turning.
It's going to try to go in the other lane.
I know, but it's so confused by these cones. Don't. Oh my God!
Well, we got a hint of this ourselves the other day in London when another autonomous vehicle emergency stopped because it mistook human faces on an advertisement on the side of a bus for real people. Now, unless I'm proven otherwise, I don't think any human has ever confused a bus advert for an actual person. Okay, I get these are prototypes. Testing has to happen somewhere at some time, but there is a legitimate argument that London shouldn't be an experimental playground, and this concern isn't without legitimacy either. According to AI, autonomous vehicles and advanced driver assistance systems have faced bans, suspensions, and strict new limitations in several regions, most notably in China and California, following fatal accidents and safety concerns regarding emergency vehicle interference. And emergency vehicle interference is a big deal, considering it doesn't take much for two autonomous vehicles to neutralize each other and create bedlam.
So the Waymos are causing a traffic jam. Did they just like...
I don't know. I just pulled out of the garage and I saw this going on. It's like this Waymo standoff. Yeah, I'm just trying to get out of here, but...
This is so funny.
Under the new automated vehicles framework, once fully in force, legal liability shifts away from the human onto the authorised self-driving entity, the company. On paper, that sounds reassuring, but it raises a deeper question. How much leeway will these regulators give these companies? If you or I committed the infractions whilst trialling new equipment, we wouldn't be given any tolerance, would we? But multinational tech companies operate under a different gravity, and history shows that where serious money is involved, concessions will follow. And that's the real concern. London isn't a beta test ground. And at one or two of the AV seminars that I've attended, the dominant concerns were secondary collision risk and the regulatory minefield. It's therefore not surprising, is it, that AVs have been carved out of the taxi and private hire legislation. Rules that were built around individual responsibility, liberty and safety. And we've seen this pattern before. When Uber first arrived, the disruption was framed as progress and the fallout was dismissed as collateral. And here we are again, because when all is said and done, capital moves faster than caution. And in this case, we're not talking about a small startup experiment. We are looking at an industry backed by billions with the power to shape regulation as it grows. So time will tell. But one thing we can all agree on is that money talks. And I can see myself doing a lot more videos on AVs in the future.